Have you ever missed the deadline to submit your self-assessment tax return? I've done it 5 times. It's not even a laughing matter. What about that deadline? Have you ever found yourself at minutes to 12 on the 31st of January doing your best to submit before the time expires and you get fined? Yep, that's me on a regular basis. Now, this video isn't going to change your life, but it might change your bank balance for the better. My name's Anthony Charles, and I am co-founder of Team Titanium and Choices TV. And I want to give you a quick heads up as far as self-assessment tax returns are concerned, and that's for a UK audience. So first question is, when do you complete your end of year tax return? In the UK, our tax year runs from the 6th of April all the way round to the 5th of April every year. So once we get to the 5th of April and we start the new tax year, you've got until the 31st of January the following year to submit your tax return for that year that's just gone past. So from April the 6th all the way to January the 31st, you've got just over 9 months to do so. So if you're new in business and you're not sure whether you need a tax return or not, then you can go to the government website and you can use the self-assessment checker, and that will tell you whether or not you need to submit a tax return or not. I'll put a link in the description box below so you'll be able to check. If the answer is yes and you need to, then you need to sign up with HMRC to tell them you're going to be self-employed, and they will send you a code, and that code and your password will give you access to what's called the government gateway. Now, I was fined, but I was so lucky. This happened back in around 2009. And back then, when you got fined by HMRC for late tax returns, then once you submitted those tax returns, those fines will disappear. So I found myself in Stratford at the tax office, and a very kind member of staff sat down with me, showed me how to go into the gateway, how to submit my tax returns, and all of my fines disappeared. But that's not the case today. You've got to get your self-assessment returns in on time, because if you don't, you will get that £100 fine. And unlike me, the only time it's going to disappear is when you pay it. If you don't pay it and you let more time go past, up to 3 months, you're going to be charged that £100. After the 3 months, you may be charged £10 every month up to 90 days. You do the maths on that, and you can get further fines and interest on top of the money that you owe. So even if you don't owe tax at all, if you've done no trading, if you don't owe tax, the easiest way to avoid any penalties is, number one, to submit that tax return, pay any money that you owe. And if you are not trading, then make sure you notify HMRC that you're no longer self-employed or you're not part of the self-assessment anymore, and do all of that before January the 31st. That's what you've got to keep in mind. Do it all before the 31st of January. Now, if you find this information useful, please like, please share, please subscribe. And whatever time of the year you're looking at this, whether you've got months to go or weeks to go before you have to submit, then do your best. If you've only got days to go, then get on with it. But if you've got some time on your hands, I always like to break down the job, because it can be a little bit of a handful. If you're going to do it yourself, I find it really easy now, because I know that I've got to submit by the 31st of January. I normally start in February. So let's say it's the beginning of February. I'm already in a tax year. I'm in the tax year from the previous year, April the 6th, all the way up to April the 5th that year. So I start in February. I've got just over a month or so to until that tax year is finished. And once I start in February, I just do 2 months. So I'll do April, May, and February. And then in the next month, I'll do June, July, August, September. By the time I get round to August of that year, I'm done. I've done it all. And I used to be the person who left it all up until January, and the 1st of January will come around and I'll say to myself, I'm going to do it in a minute, I'm going to do it in a minute. Then I find myself doing it last minute, and you have to take this huge chunk of time out of your new year to be able to sort everything out. So I like to be prepared. Now, I make it easy on myself, because I hate to say this, because I do believe in cash, and I don't want everything to go, all of our finances to go digital. But to make it easy on myself at this moment, I pay for about 90% of everything I use in my business with my card. So it's easy. I don't have to go through lots of receipts, and it's really easy to do this thing on a monthly basis and to be ready where long before the deadline comes around. I always make sure I put money aside. So if I'm paid £1,000, I will always take away about £200 and I'll put that aside. I don't want to be caught out. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not wanting to pay the tax man any more than I have to pay him. I'm going to avoid taxes at the most. Now, I said avoid, not evade. Avoiding tax is legal. Evading tax, that's illegal. So I'm always going to make sure I put enough aside so that when I submit my tax return, whatever I've got to pay, I've got the money to pay it. So what I've got to say to you is submit on time, pay what you owe, get everything done by the 31st of January, and enjoy your self-assessment. And keep on being amazing, because you are.